everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a portrait of Harry Potter. You can see our reference over here, and just saying, this was supposed to be a real-time tutorial, but the drawing in fact took over 2 hours, so I decided to speed up the clips by 10 and do a voiceover instead. So, let's begin right away. You'll see that I have ruled up these 12 grid squares. So, it's advised that you should rule up these as well if you wanted to follow along, because this is a beginner strategy to get your proportions exactly right. You see, I've put the exact same grid over our actual reference image so that it would make guidelines for sketching and proportion. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, we're going to be starting off with the sketch, which will tell us where to shade everything later on. So, the sketch is just giving us a basic outline of everything. So, what we want for this is just maybe a HB pencil, because we want it to be quite light, so if we make any mistakes in sketching, we can easily rub it out. So, see, I'm just doing rough silhouette of his face, and using our straight lines and grid lines to help us, because yes, you can tell from the reference image. Look at the reference image. You can see more easily where everything is. Now down to his collar after I finished the rough outline of his puffy hair. As you can see, I'm trying to scan the image onto the paper, just rough and light lines. And now there's these things called the lines you need to draw a portrait, and the first line I'm drawing here is the eye line. This line will be where the center of Harry's eyes are, and as you can see on our reference, it's just maybe a bit below halfway of the face and below halfway of that square. After that, you can put in the other lines based on what you see on the image, and those are for the nose and for the lips. It's important not to forget the center line, which is the line you see vertically going down the center. And that line represents Harry's head and how much it is tilting, and it's tilting very, very slightly to the left, as what we see in the image. So now I'm starting to draw the basic features, the nose and the eyes, based on the lines. So yeah, the eyes. You can see that they're maybe pointing slightly downwards towards the middle, and usually eyes could be in lots of different shapes, so I'm trying to copy that shape down of our image down onto the paper, a very rough shape. And also, now I'm sketching in his glasses, so they should be sort of ovals. The top of the glasses sort of merges with the top of the eyes, the top lid. So, kind of like that, yeah. Now, you can see that the glasses I drew here are too circular, and so I need to put the line of the eyes lower. And that's why I noticed from the image, that's an observation I make, that my proportion has been wrong. So, when you notice that your proportions are maybe a bit wrong, don't be afraid to change it. Just rub it out and redraw it. It's very simple. So as you can see, I've moved the eye area a little lower so that the glasses would be more similar to the way they are in the image, more oval shaped. See, so just a little more guidelines around the eyes, the nose, and roughly where the hairline is, and get all the guidelines in, measure everything to make sure we have the correct proportions. There's very specific ways that human faces are shaped, so that the tip of the mouth usually goes to around the center of the eyes. The edges of the nose can be drawn in a line up to the inner edges of the eyes, stuff like that. Now I'm sketching out the hair, a rough sketch, just something that I wanted to tell you. Hair is my worst enemy when drawing human portraits realistically. I do not like drawing hair. So that's going to be my challenge today. Step 2 and phase 2 is shading. First, I actually drew the glasses because they overlap with the eye, and the eye is where I usually start. Glasses are pretty much self-explanatory and easy, just a dark black rim, but don't forget the highlights. Leave some highlights, that's what makes them pop out. So yeah, to leave those highlights, just leave some white spaces, and if you color over them, you could go over them with maybe a small eraser or an electric eraser at the end. Now I'm doing the eye. The edges are quite shaded, so I put them there. And now for the pupil, which as you can see over there, it's small. Harry has green eyes, but you can't see them on the lead pencil shading. So use a sharp tip to draw in that little highlight in the pupil and color the rest black. Be sure not to color in that highlight, because that makes it look realistic. And yeah, put some shadows in caused by the glasses. There's some light shadows. And around the eye as well. There's this bag around the eye. Geez, this video is going too fast for me to explain, but hopefully you can follow it, or you could slow it down if you want to. Smudge it with your fingers, or if you want to do it another way, use a smudger or use a tissue. Those are all good ways to smudge it. Don't smudge too much, because then that would make your drawing look kind of medium. Like, not much contrast. So you can use your eraser if you think one part's too dark and you want to make it brighter. So yeah, I've shaded in this area inside of these glasses and smudged it so it looks smooth. Now let's continue with this little bridge that bridges the two rims together. So yeah, it has a little bit of highlight in the center due to the light from the middle bouncing off. And now the other side of the glasses, it's pretty much the same as that side. Don't forget to leave some highlights. You can see I forgot it, so I just used my eraser to add some highlights there. And yeah, go dark. Don't be afraid to go dark on these glasses, because they're pretty dark in the image at least. So now sketch the other eye. I know some people have trouble on getting the other eye exactly the same. So yeah, try your best. They don't actually have to be exactly the same, but yeah, they do have to be similar. So dark on the edges, and then we do some lines. And here's the pupil. Again, same thing. Draw the highlight very carefully. Don't color the black inside the highlight, and then draw some shading and lines around that pupil so that it looks kind of realistic. How's it looking so far? How are you going? Is it pretty good? Great. Alright, now the bags under the eyes are the same as before. Yes, and the shadows are also the same as before. This side looks a little darker. Looks to be a little darker. A little more shadows than the other side. So make sure to slightly emphasize that. Now we're going on to the eyebrows. So yeah, again, don't be afraid to go dark on here. We might be coming back and darkening all the really dark features later as well. So yeah, the eyebrows and this curve up into the eye. The eyebrows are pretty easy to draw. Just shade them in basically and keep them refined. And maybe for the edges, do a little like single hairs, as in for the left one. Again, very easy. Do the same thing on the other side as well, and do that little dark shading down his brows that transitions into his nose as well. Yeah, we're going to come back and make these a little darker maybe a bit later. Now we're onto the nose. That's the dark edge of the nose, which is the ridge. Obviously going to be darker than the center bit, so we're trying to emphasize that to give it a 3D effect. Right, the nostrils should be very dark, as they are always. Not much sunlight gets in them. And then that bit is a little bit of a hangover shadow there. So just get the 3D effect in. And that bit is, the center bit you see is closer to us than the side parts. So we're gonna draw a little distinguished thing in it. And the highlight is right down the center. So make sure you keep the highlight. That's very important to keep. And yeah, we're gonna Yeah, rub that out a little bit if you think you haven't left enough for the highlight, if you think you've done it too dark or something. Now we're shading around as well, and also adding in some shadows. Alright, now it's time for the mouth. Add a dark line, that will be the upper lip, and then this down, which is the center bit. We've drawn the upper lip. The upper lip is darker than the lower lip. That's because, yeah, it's more light hitting onto the lower lip. And so we have carefully drawn the lower lip. It's way lighter than the upper lip. So there's also a bit of a shadow at the bottom, and we need to try and refine that. P.S. Sorry for the flashing lights. My camera is trying to readjust and it's very confused. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, we don't want to make it look like he's put any lipstick on. Make his lower lip quite bright, and that shadow should be a little smaller. Right there, still sorry for my camera, which is flashing all over the place. And make that a bit darker. Let's refine some edges. Make everything that should be dark a lot darker. Like these pupils, they should be quite dark. Yeah, the camera's really going crazy now, isn't it? And yeah, the eyebrows. Yeah, I really need to get a new camera. That's what I need to get. Yeah, off track, but here. Now we're on to the side of the face, the cheeks. As you can see, it's actually the dark shadow doesn't actually go straight to the edge. There's a bit of brightness, a bit of a reflection light. You have learnt about how those works, reflections, if you have learned how to do art. So you need to leave a strip of white there in your shadow. And anyway, remember to blend. Again, you can use a tissue or your fingers, that will be fine. Or you could use a blender, special blender tool. Yes. So yeah, make the edge bit dark. Referring to the image again, you must remember to refer to the image if you want it to look like the image. And see the dark area and the shadow, and there's a bit of a highlight on the chin, so you're gonna leave that a bit brighter than the rest of the bits. Right, and yeah, do not forget these little details like the edges of the glasses. And yeah, let's just establish his little bit of a shadow that comes down into his neck and into his collar there. Now it's time for a difficult bit. It's time for the hair. What I did for the hair was I first began to sketch out some very basic and rough guidelines for myself about where it would be before going into a full detail, so that it would make it easier. To show what I mean, you should see here. So yeah, this bit's sped up a bit faster. It just shows my rough sketch of the hair and the flows and the shading, so that it would make my job way easier to actually draw the hair. And yeah, for the hair, if you truly wanted to learn how to draw hair, there's lots of other tutorials. But yeah, if you stick with me, just sort of draw what you see on the screen. And one tip is to have all your lines flow in the same way that you think the hair is flowing, to get a more realistic and flowy hair look. And anyway, Harry Potter's hair, it's a little messy, as mentioned in the book. And as you can see here, it's kind of like a scruff up. So it's not important to get looking that neat. You can sort of make it look kind of scruffy or messy, or like not fully on, if you want. Right, so yeah, can you see some highlights? You see the light reflecting on the right and left sides. Leave that a little lighter, but also draw some lines to represent that the hair is still there. Very light lines that follow the hair's direction. So you'll see where this is going. So even sped up, this took like 6 minutes, even when sped up 5 times. So yeah, I'm gonna speed it up some more. And you can just see me kind of drawing what I explained. And if you want to follow along, you can slow down the video as well. Alright, currently as you can see here, I'm finishing off the threads of the hair. You can see along it, I've tried to make it look similar to Harry Potter's hair and copying down all the strands. But yes, I did go a bit free on my own there. Did some dark parts, light parts, and with the highlights, and did the lines that would show where the hair was going to make it look more real. So if you want, you can try and copy that. Now it's time to go back, do some refining with the details, and go down to the neck. So the neck bit, there is a dark shadow cast from the face going down, but you can see almost no neck as it is covered up immediately by his collar, his Hogwarts collar, and then going down into his Gryffindor tie. I'm further coloring in the shadow that his face casts onto his collar. Now I've just noticed something. Our grid lines are still there, but they're unnecessary. So I began to rub out all the grid lines carefully without rubbing out any of our completed drawing. So yeah, now we've cleaned our background up. Let's go back in. Here's the edge for the shadow of the face onto the other side. And there's a fold for that. There's a special fold in the collar, which you can see. You make that fold a bit darker. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling on here again. The right side has almost no shadow in our image. So yeah, we're going to leave that almost blank except for just a little bit. Now let's outline in our tie and his little sweater thing. Draw in the red and yellow stripes. Of course, yeah, the edges are darker and the middle section is lighter due to the light hitting the bits that are closer to us and in the center. So yeah, we've got a bit of a stripe pattern going on. Of course, the yellow is lighter than the red. Alright, now for this bit, I think it's just going to be dark coloring in. No need to go into too much detail for his cloak. So I'm just going to speed this up, and you're just going to see me coloring it in really dark. So you can do that too. Very easy step. Right, this bit is going to be the final step for our Harry Potter drawing, and I'm doing it in real time. So this is just going to be little refinements, adjustments to where we put everything. So I'm starting with a little proportional error. I noticed that the side of his jaw should be a little further up slanted, maybe. Yeah, how do I describe that? Yeah, so I just kind of did that, erased that, and drew that in. Yeah, erased it with my trusty eraser, and then drew the line back in where I wanted it to be up there. So for this bit, yeah, it's just refining. If this isn't really anything to follow on at this point, I'm refining my picture. If you think your picture has anything wrong with it, then yeah, you can do a bunch of refining. Yeah, my tongue. Bunch of refining and see if there's any differences between your drawing and the reference image. See, I'm making things a little darker. I'm making the eyebrows darker. Actually, you know what? We're just gonna speed this up too, yeah, because there's nothing really to follow on. Yes, so you can watch me basically like do some refinements for like a few more seconds. Sorry to interrupt the time lapse, but I did also notice that there was not enough hair on this Harry Potter. There needed to be puffier hair. That was another mistake I made to make it look not right. So I'm gonna add a bit of a wider puff of hair around and try and make it go smoothly in with the hair I had originally pasted in here. Now, here we have some actual blenders. These blenders are for the very, very final touch of our drawing, which is just a bit more smudging around everywhere and highlighting. So here we go. So this is actually our final image, after even more refinements that were done off camera. Oh, hold up, I'm seeing more mistakes. Alright, I'll be right back. Right, we've changed it some more, and now his hair is off the page. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, we humbly request for you to drop a like and subscribe to make this known to others. And sharing this video will also help. Hope you had a great time. If you drew along, hope your drawing went well. If you have any video suggestions, you can leave them in the comments below. So, I'll see you next time with my next drawing video. Goodbye.